gerrymandering. Okay?
I was gonna
These
bring
people
that
don't
up.
answer to only one party because their district is Austin Scott answering to that core. Do you know how many people I've met in Houston County who tell me they're Democrat but don't tell anybody? Because it would destroy their business, and that's
That's-
right. They're right, it probably would.
But you know what, though? They're not as alone as they think they are.
No, they're not, but
I hear that all the time. I travel throughout the district as part of my
And you're right.
job with the Democratic Party of
tell you
Georgia.
that.
I can't stop hearing it. I'm so alone. Don't tell anybody about a
the
Democrat.
people are answering only to one party because their districts are gerrymandered.
And people don't vote because they feel like their vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter. When Austin Scott was elected, it was in 2010, and there was a wave election across the country of Republicans winning. He beat the Democrat Jim Marshall by, I want to say, what is it, 6 or 8 points?
Not much.
It wasn't much at all. But he hasn't had a contender since then. You want to know why? Because they keep saying this district is red. It's red, 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 red. It was red when Jim Marshall was in it, and he just barely held it. It's red now Austin Scott's in it, and he's holding it really strong. He gets 63% of the vote. Meanwhile, he hasn't really had a challenger, not a real strong challenger. Now, I'm not saying that I'm yet a real strong challenger. We'll talk about what I need help from you to be a real strong challenger towards the end. But right now, we need to have somebody to fight, to say, is that true? Or are there people who aren't being heard and aren't being represented? And just traveling across the district, I would say there are a lot of people. So yeah, I've heard that a lot.
You have questions, Steve?
Fred, right here first.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hey.
So before Obama left office, he was working towards making prisons no longer for profit. However, Jeff Sessions, he is not in agreement with that. So what is your personal position on that issue?
I'm totally in disagreement with the private prison industry. I don't think that prison should be privatized at all. Let me open this up. So, to me, private prisons create a perverse incentive for corporations to lobby at the state level and at the federal level to make more things illegal, to create stricter penalties, to try to get more mandatory minimums, so that we have more people incarcerated, so they fill more beds, so there's more of a need for them, so that, again, we're putting more money into these private prisons. This is a governmental function, if there ever was one. Punishing people for breaking the law is a function of the government. It should not be put to any kind of private industry. It should never be for profit. Like I said, it creates perverse incentives. And we see the results of these incentives. There is a definite prison pipeline, especially in lower socioeconomic communities, in minority communities. That's why drug policy is the way it is. Why marijuana is a Schedule I drug. Why it remains one. So yeah, I definitely am against privatization of prisons. I think it's not a good deal. It doesn't save us any money. It actually costs us more money, and it creates perverse incentives to criminalize people who would not otherwise be.
So I have a couple of points first, and then I'll get to my question.
Okay.
So, just on Fred's bravery, I'll just say that I think in our first meeting, because we sort of have these little political salons, we'll call them, he said, we were talking about this issue about how Macon Bib is blue, but you wouldn't know it because we're all real quiet. And we're not putting the bumper stickers on and the signs in our yard because there's this fear that we're in a red state and there will be retribution. And it sticks in my head that he said, I put a sign right in my yard because I just don't care. And it wasn't an I just don't care in a bad way. It was these are my principles and I'm not going to cower. So that's just my personal endorsement of Fred. But beyond that, President Obama made what I feel like we're seeing is a corporate takeover of America across the board. A couple of things that I think that we did wrong as constituents. On the point about nobody sort of pushing back, that's not what I'm seeing now. I'm seeing the Democrats at the airports with megaphones and, trying to stop the Gorish nominate. See, I think they're fighting the way they never fought before. They're just in the minority. I think they're fighting really well, actually, and actually not doing too bad, given the fact that they don't control anything. But where I feel like I and we failed Obama is that we do not come out at midterms. So major disadvantage, you completely handicap even a really popular president when you don't, this is a liberal trait. We don't come out at midterms. We tend to focus on national issues. These are traits I notice in myself that I'm really learning this time around to sort of turn around. So those were just some. The other thing I think we need to do a better job with messaging is every reputable polling organization will say when they poll the country on issues, we are getting more and more liberal across the board as a nation on environment, gun control, everything. Somehow that's being lost in translation completely. That's a marketing issue. I don't know how you drive that message home. So most people will say it's a TV network, split with Fox, and so those are just things where I think as voters we failed Obama. The question I have for you, and this is very specific, and I don't expect you to have the answer, but how would you promote wind and solar in the 8th district? Are there solid opportunities that can be identified right off the bat? And for people that maybe are in fossil fuels, or I don't know much about coal and fossil fuels in the 8th district or in Georgia. I won't even lie and say that I do, but is there a plan to retrain, a solid plan to put out to retrain those people, or a proposal to get them into wind and solar? This thing is food for thought.
Yeah, well, I will say we do have a pretty big opportunity, at least in solar, throughout the 8th. If you ever drive through the 8th, like I said, it's rural. There's a lot of farmland, a lot of crops. There's a lot of also just empty fields. There's a lot of land, and we have a ton of sun. We got a lot of sunshine here. We do have a lot of trees. We also have a lot of fields that maybe are used for crops or aren't used at all. And we can certainly create tax incentives to try to use some more of this land in this way, try to build out. But the problem is that we really don't have, like I said, we don't have the grid that we need to really take advantage of those opportunities like we have. That's just icing on the cake. That's just the outside. There's a lot more that we can do that I want to drill into as I move along in my campaign. And as I get up there and start working with other partners who may have ideas that I haven't even thought about. But that's one thing that in the 8th, we have a huge opportunity in solar, I can tell you right now.
You should probably have a very large pushback from the fossil fuel industry when you try and do that, because they're making big profits from selling us oil and gas to run our electrical grids, and so that's
Sure.
But the utility companies, for their future and cost savings and efficiency, are turning the other way. So there's a counterbalance to it. I mean, I think there's a great opportunity.
Sure,
And
and
I think you could differentiate yourself too if we have a little bit more developed plans on maybe how to retrain people or recruit them into the industry.
But you're not wrong. This isn't a cakewalk. It's not like I could walk up and be like, hey, I got these ideas. What do you think? I'm going to have lobbyists who are going to be making attack ads on me just as soon as they get an opportunity. So, but I want to, before I go to anybody else, I want to touch on something else that you mentioned. You mentioned how Democrats don't perform that well in midterms. I want to ask everybody to kind of raise their hands at the following things. Who here knows the name of the President of the United States? Show of hands. You don't have to like him, you just know his name. All right, who here knows the names of both your U.S. senators? Okay. Who here knows, who here knows the name of your congressman? You may be in my district, you may be in another one. Who here knows the name of your congressman? Who here knows the name of the governor? Who here knows the name of your state representative? Got a pretty good crowd here. We got a few hands that didn't come up. Who here knows the name of your state senator? Who here knows the name of your county commissioner? As you can see, we have a lot of hands. This is a very politically engaged crowd. They're decreasing as they go down. And that's because the higher up you go, the more attention it gets. And the more attention it grabs. And that's why presidency, Democrats, they just go with what grabs the attention. So you're going to get more during the presidential years. And Republicans tend to be a little more diehard, and they vote down the ballot. And so you do have that kind of off your thing. They are generally a more dedicated group. But that's one, we need to continue to educate ourselves down the ballot, down to school board, county commission, everything. If you don't know who represents you, find out. It's not that hard. But another thing that I want to point out is that part of the reason why I've taken this step is because I believe we have an opportunity. I believe that the Trump administration has shown a complete incompetence and ineptitude to the point where people, if they really love him, they'll vote for him. If they kind of voted for him, they kind of liked him, they may stay home. Maybe they'll vote for somebody else, but they may stay home. But we're going to see a lot more energy out of people we've never seen before. I'm going to tell you, there are groups cropping up, such as Central Georgians for Progress, such as Georgia Women and Those Who Stand With Them, such as all the indivisible groups, and they are people I've never seen before this year. But now they're involved, they're engaged, they want to participate, and I think you're going to begin seeing that more and more as we go on, as they continue to fumble their way into whatever inept thing they're trying. And so, yeah, we need to get out, but I think you're seeing that already. And we need to continue to push it. We need to continue to speak. We need to continue to encourage our friends to come out to events like this and other events. But I think you're going to see more energy coming down as we get to 2018.
I just wanted to touch on what you had said. I attended the Democratic town hall that was held here a couple months ago, last month, whatever it was.
I think it was last month.
Stacey Abrams made the point that Republicans will vote for Mickey Mouse if he's on the ballot. The Democrats will say, I don't think I like Mickey Mouse. I'm either not going to vote, I'm not going to show up, or maybe I'll vote for the third party candidate. And we have to stop doing that.
Yeah, I was going to say
We
something.
have
too.
to stop it.
What does Fred say? You say
Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. It's a trite but true statement.
Yeah,
Tom.
Fred, you need some money, right?
I need some money. I was really going to mention that before we left because I wanted to be fresh in your minds, but I need money.
And how can they give that to you?
I have a crowd pack. I don't know if you guys know what crowd pack is. Crowd pack is PAC, just like the super PAC, just like regular PAC. This is where the people can create a PAC. It's online, www.crowdpack.com/C/Fred Swann for Congress. I also have some cards in the back. Rebecca, hold up the cards, please. If you grab a card on your way out, it has my crowd pack address. It also has my Facebook page, my campaign's Facebook page on there. But you can pledge on there, and when I reach my goal, no money will be taken out until I reach my goal. At that point, then I'll take the money, put it in my account, and begin spending it on the campaign. But I really like Crowd Pack because it is a way in which the common person can be involved and engaged, and they're not going to get pushed out by PACs, special interests, and lobbyists. If you have a candidate who's really dependent upon something like Crowd Pack, you know they hear you. I know. I've received $2,600 in donations so far. I know every single person who's donated to me. Not that I know them personally. I know most of them personally, but I know everybody who's donated to me because I see that. This isn't like you're donating to some shadowy PAC, and then that PAC shovels some money at me, with a steamroller. So, yes, if you really like what you're hearing tonight, please grab a card. Please pledge. Every dollar helps.
Can I say one more thing, Fred?
Let me answer this question. You can say one more thing. My funding goal was $150,000. And I'm gonna tell you, that's a lot of money, but it's not even close to what you need to run this race. That's enough to get me started, make me a viable candidate, so that I could then begin attracting Democratic donors, begin from outside the district. Kind of like John Ossoff is doing now.
Daily Coast funded him.
Daily Coast blasted him. And by the way, if anybody knows anybody at Daily Coast,
They fund him.
they do fund him, and they also blasted him. You know, I mean, like got his name out.
Yeah,
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. If you know anybody at Daily Coast, give them my name. Like they put him on blast. Like they were like, psh, all over. So if you know anybody at Daily Coast, please get a card in their hand, please. Tom?
Right, I don't think any of us in here have the deep pockets of a Robert Mercer or a Charles Koch or any of those people. But there's a lot more of us. And you may not be able to max out, but you can give $20. Or if you can't give $20, you can give some of your time. And I'm not just talking about Fred here, I'm talking about people that you care about that you need in office. So you've already spent an hour with us. I would encourage you to make that commitment that you're going to give something of yourself for the outcomes that you care about.
Oh wait, but behind you.
Well,
Sorry.
you know my history.
Yes.
And you know how I am about candidates.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you something, I'm just sick and tired, either side, of you coming out and doing all these things when you want our money, but you don't keep doing them, because I think the more you're out there with people one-on-one, and I know it's sacrifice for Rebecca and the family, they won't see you for months, but I really do think the way you're gonna win is to get out there and just wear your car out with people. Because I think one-on-one, the more you talk with people, the more you know your district. Austin Scott has never done anything like this. And I get real irritated seeing politicians that the only time they're coming around talking to us is when they want money from us. And I'm not gonna give to a politician like that. I wanna see you out talking to everybody, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian, because if you win, you represent everybody in this district in the state of Georgia. And that's the commitment I want from you before I'm gonna commit to anybody, is that you're gonna stand there and say, if I get elected, I'm representing everybody in the state of Georgia when I go up there.
I'm really glad you brought that up, and I did not plan.
Not my Republican friends at my Missionary Baptist
Right.
Church.
Right. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, and I didn't plan to, despite the fact that I really feel like I could just like knock that one out of the park, because I will make that pledge to you. The pledge I want to make to you is that if I'm elected, I want to do these town halls throughout the district, and I'm planning some now. I'm planning some in Tifton. I'm going to head down to Valdosta later on in the month and next month. But if I'm elected, when it's time for Congress to recess, I'm going to be doing these. I'm going to be here in Macon, I'm going to be in Tifton, I'm going to be in Valdosta, I'm going to be in Cook County, I'm going to be in Wilkinson. Or if my lines change in 2020, after the census, I'll be wherever the district shifts to. But that's what I want to do. I like this. This is actually kind of fun. I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, Fred's very courageous." I appreciate that. But this is kind of fun for me. I like talking to y'all, and I think I want to do this more and more and more. I make the commitment that I will do these town halls when I am in recess in here. Sorry, baby, maybe not as many vacations. And I know, right? She's like, "I want to take you." And I want to expand the use of things like, maybe not Google Hangouts, something like that, where we can begin doing tele town halls, not when we're in recess and you should be in your district talking to people, but when you're in DC and you're like, "Oh, I've got tonight free, I don't have an event, let me schedule something for that," where you're talking to more and more people. Now, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to do that whether or not I've done something everybody likes or whether I've done something everybody's ready to yell at me for. That's a commitment I make. So if you elect me, if you help me get into office, and then I don't do it, vote the bum out. Get rid of me.
I want to say something about that. I want to say something. And this is more in response to what you have said. The reason I'm here today is because, one, I'm not very politically active. I'm more of an observer, not just for Georgia, but for what was going on in Holland, the Germany, France, the UK,
France.
Virginia, France. I was just like all the way. But you, again and again, I kept running into you. Anytime there is an event, Fred is there. Okay, my wife is more politically active, and we've had these resistance meetings at our home, and every time Fred showed up.
You have a lovely home, so what do you want me to do?
Fred's been showing up for a long time.
And there was this meeting at that Mexican restaurant, there he was. So every time there is an event, Fred is always there. So when my wife said, okay, Fred is having a town hall, she knows I don't go to these kind of things. I say, oh, Fred, I'm going. So believe me, he's going to be there. He's going to wear out his car tires. See that?
Like I said, I love these kind of things. So thank you for that. Thank you for mentioning that.
I think
But-
you also have to be realistic. It's very expensive. You're probably gonna end up taking money from a PAC because you have to survive, you have to get through the campaign. I went to Sanford's Bishop's Town Hall
Mhm.
Tuesday night, was it? And he said that's the realism of it. You have to run every 2 years, you have to have the money to do it. And they're probably, if you make it to Washington, they're gonna put you in an office and say, every Tuesday, you're in here calling for money.
You're not
And I'm
wrong.
sorry for this lady who says every time all you're ever doing is asking for money, but every 2 years is a lot, that, it comes around really fast.
Well, Fred knows, my grandfather was a U.S. congressman, and, way back in the day, but when he was home, he was in his district, getting out, meeting his folks that voted for him.
Right, and
I
see
mean,
that's the difference.
That's the thing,
You don't.
it's like, I know it takes a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
but if you,
And yeah, I'm gonna have to ask for money.
I'm
That's just the
convinced,
case.
Fred, if people can meet you one-on-one, they're gonna vote for you.
That's true.
Because you have a
That's
good
true.
grasp of the issues that are going on
Yes.
here and going on nationwide.
So how do we get more people
They
to
need
town
you,
halls?
they
Even
So
more.
yeah.
It's more just getting out, every time he goes somewhere, he needs to be saying, I'm Fred Swann, I'm running for Congress.
Right.
But we also need to be doing that too.
Right.
I think, the Democrats need to come out of the closet and announce that
They
they're
do.
here, because a lot of times I find if I frame an issue without giving it a political tint, people will agree. You know, when I talk about, as a nurse, a pre-existing condition, everybody has one. Almost everybody has one.
Mhm.
You know, diabetes, asthma, those are pre-existing. People can agree to that. So you find something that's not, so partisan, and then you say, well, I'm a Democrat, and then they're shocked, because they think you should have orange on your head.
Right. Well, but that goes to the point of how you get some agreement. Is you find somebody who's not just ready to score points for our team, but really wants to get something done, and you find a point of agreement, and then you build out from there. And that's exactly what you're
But
talking
I was
about.
listening, I can't believe I'm quoting Bob Dole, but he was talking about, one thing that he thought had changed, probably when he knew father, was that the money, and he said it is so much money that we used to be able to argue, and then we'd go have lunch together. We don't stay in Washington, we rush back to make money. So we're not connecting with constituents, we're not connecting with each other. They would have arguments, and then they'd go to lunch. No, they can't be seen with each other. If you're, listen, this is a true story. I had a booth at the Perry Fair, And I had a life-size Obama, well, not life-size, but a cutout of Obama there. A friend, I'm not gonna say who it was, but a local congressman who was a Republican came by. And when he realized for a second there that he was standing next to Obama's cutout, he jumped away before I could take his picture. I was like, you know, really, it's not contagious.
But you know why? It's because one, their donors punish them for that.
Right.
But two, their voters and their constituents sometimes punish them for that.
Right, because they're gerrymandered districts.
Right. And there's so much vitriol that has been spewed out by the media and a lot of times by our politicians that the people now are so entrenched in these two parties and these two teams winning that if a lot of people, when I have said I could work with the president on things, and I will stick with that. If the president says something that I can get on board with, I will work with him. Despite the fact that I don't actually think he's a very nice
But
person.
I want to say this, I'm tired of Democrats saying everybody's saying they're just as bad. No, we're not.
No,
Okay?
That's what I was-
No,
Yeah,
we're
I don't-
not.
messaging.
I'm sorry.
But what I'm saying is that.
Quit throwing yourself on that sword.
No,
But what I'm
right.
saying is that, the point I was getting at real quick is that I get pushback from my liberal friends. You would work with him. I mean, he's so horrible. And I'm like, then how are we gonna get anything done? We're in the minority. I mean, seriously.
I think-
If he became
Less
unreasonable and
impeachment is
reasonable
there.
to work
Right.
with.
Right, exactly. If he stumbled onto something that I can get on board with, and this isn't just, I'm gonna find something somewhere I can get on board with him, but he's somehow stumbles backwards. Like if somehow he starts doing the infrastructure spending he was always talking about, and I can somehow convince him to do it right instead of the way he was doing it, I'll work with him on that.
Right.
And that's what we've got. But we've got to have more people who are going to do that, and we've got to hold both teams accountable to that. I don't care who you are. That's my personal view. It always has been. I want to work with you kind of guy. I will fight for my principles, and I will fight against things I disagree with, but I'm not going to fight you because you're on the other team. I don't think this isn't a team sport, or it shouldn't be. This is about real people's lives.